Today on Locked On Rockies, a bit of a frustrating series in Milwaukee, some solid performances, but an extra inning W is always a fun time.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 30th day of June in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Recapping the Milwaukee Brewers series from this weekend, and of course, talking a little bit, maybe getting, is there some momentum on the trade deadline, and a couple of questions from the Locked On Rockies social universe that we'll dive into here today as well. But the Rockies getting their first extra innings victory of the season as they avoid the sweep in Milwaukee, thanks to some late heroics there from Thairo Estrada and Orlando Arcia. Some solid performances in the finale there. Kind of a game that you're looking at the score and you're looking at how the way it was going, and you're kind of like, this seems like it's pretty par for the course of how the Rockies have gone this year, where it's, man, out hitting them for a bit. There's a couple of solo home runs are doing the damage, and there's kind of sunk, because especially when you look at how the offense performed in the game prior there, the Saturday game, being one hit there. We're able to put up 6 runs in the first game in a bit of a slobber knocker there, 10-6 in that one. And we got to it. Unfortunately, it was a game that got away, but one that there was certainly an opportunity and a chance for the Rocks in that one. But that one bad inning, it just seems like it is so prevalent for the Rockies, right? 6 spot hung up on Kyle Freeland there in game 1. And then in game 2, you got the tough spot with Antonio Senzatella getting blown up in the first and the fourth there, with Senzatella allowing 5 earned there. The starting pitching, unfortunately, not the best in this series. Germán Márquez comes out and has a pretty solid start there, keeps the game close, keeps the game interesting for the Rockies here as he continues to raise a little bit of eyebrows here, I think, as you're looking at June being his best month of the season. Still nothing that's going to blow you away in a lot of things, but when we're talking about a potential building of trade momentum, I think Germán Márquez is starting to make an interesting case for himself here, and it will remain to be seen what the Rockies can do at the trade deadline, and how much of an impact, how much value that they can get from their guys. It's just a matter of, again, are they going to be willing to make these moves, to make these changes, to make these things happen in order to move on? Because let's just start with this, the Germán Márquez storyline here. In this one, he goes 5 2/3. He allows 2 earned runs off of 3 hits. 2 of those were home runs. 3 walks to 5 strikeouts. And what we're seeing here in the month of June for Germán Márquez is the strikeout returning to one of a tool in his arsenal here. 5 strikeouts against Milwaukee. He's only allowed, in his now 6 starts in June, he's only gone under 5 strikeouts in 2 of those starts. So we're starting to see his ability to start striking batters out this return. He struck out 29 batters in total this month as compared to 17 in May and only 11 in April. We're watching the opponent batting average go down against him. We're watching the whip go down for Germán. We're watching things trend in the right direction for Germán Márquez. So far, there has been an uptick in opponent batting average against him in June as compared to May, where he had him at 248 and now 297 here. But again, strikeouts are up. Things are starting to look a little bit more interesting for Germán Márquez as the Rockies start approaching that at the trade deadline. When you're thinking of, okay, you've gone up when you've had Carson Palmquist fill in. He could finish out the rest of the season. A good chance of that if you decide to move on from Germán. You have Ryan Feltner, who's eyeing a return. I believe there was a mention of him on MLB.com talking about a third rehab start, getting closer and ready for him to be there. And we, of course, have seen that the fact that the Rockies have not been too shy about calling up some of their arms here to fill in. So Germán is starting to kind of build a little bit of that trade momentum as well. 2.97 ERA against him here in 30 innings pitched this month. And as much as I hate to sit here and say, oh, he's building up the trade value, that's a win for him and the Rockies. Let's again, with his contract being expiring, with the Rockies being in this position they are, the odds of Germán Márquez continuing his career in purple, unless the Rockies did something ludicrous, overcommitted with a huge long contract, I think that we might be seeing the final month of Germán Márquez in purple, because this is a pitcher that will raise a little bit of eyebrows when you're talking about this, and when you're looking at some of these as well. This is a guy that at Atlanta, 7 strikeouts, a couple of has had some success against opponents here on the road specifically. And could be a little more interesting. You could factor in the fact that he won't be at Coors Field anymore, and look into how that could be a factor and make things a little bit more interesting for a team. And building up those strikeouts, building up that confidence, that's going to help as well. The one thing that's often been a problem for Germán has been the long ball here. And when you look at it, giving up 6 home runs on this year, 2 of them in the finale against Milwaukee, but the other 4 has come at home. So you might think that teams are kind of thinking about, okay, look at how he is on the road. Look at these performances here. That might make it a little bit more interesting. But some of those things, again, we're talking about stuff improving for Germán here, but 6 home runs in the month of June, that's the most home runs he's allowed of the whole season. Only 2 home runs allowed in April, 2 home runs allowed in May. So he's already more than doubled the amount of home runs that he's allowed up in the season on a per month basis here in the month of June. But earned runs are down substantially. He allowed 28 earned runs in April. He only allowed 14 earned runs in May, and down to 10 here in June. So another trend looking in the right direction. More hits against Germán in this month. Also 3 more innings worth of work here, because 27 hits allowed in May, 37 hits allowed in April. So again, so some of these stuff, I think when you're thinking about that, when you're considering what if there is any possible trade momentum building with Rockies, Germán Márquez is making it an interesting case there to make it be a team. Maybe you're not going to get the best in the business, but a prospect or 2, maybe a draft pick, something like that. That's going to be the right move, because if Germán Márquez just walks at the end of the season, that's a problem. You have to be able to use you have to be able to use the trade deadline this year in any way, shape, or form that's possible. Because again, you might have contracts, you might have things that people under contract and stuff like that, but if they're just going to be a part of a historically bad team, it ain't going to do you much there. So I love Germán Márquez. I've been a big fan, but I am also kind of intrigued by how is he kind of pitching himself maybe into the conversation of being a more relevant trade target for some teams this year, as teams are always looking to add pitching here, and Germán Márquez's June is definitely making it a much more interesting case there for him. We'll talk a little bit about some of the impact some of these veteran bats are having on the Rockies, and the fact that they were able to survive in that finale. Of course, some of the frustrations of the game where they get blown out there as well, out hit 10-1 and striking out 11 times again. Let's keep talking and breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more exciting with FanDuel? You can get in the action with your friends. Oh, I'm sorry. Get in on the action while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. But maybe, if you want to bounce some ideas off of them while you're chilling at the beach and get in on some of these promotions, because they got new daily promotions there, and it keeps it fresh all the time with FanDuel. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events, especially, if you're watching the Rockies and you want to make things a little more interesting and make it a little more fun. See with a little same-game parlay, or take a bet that'll go, in the 9th inning, a live bet. FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started and get that $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins at FanDuel.com. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, your free and streaming daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you are in the right spot. Folks, we're talking a little bit about Germán Márquez increasing his trade value there. Let's revisit this game here. Some good performances from some of the veteran at-bats here. The vets kind of showing a little bit why you do want to tune in and kind of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Give them some opportunity as well. As much as we've harped on play the young guys, play the young guys, play the young guys, Thairo Estrada has a huge series there. Gets held hitless in game 2, but has 6 hits in the other 2 games, including 3 in the finale here. And, of course, Orlando Arcia, it hasn't necessarily been a dominant come in and do a bunch of damage type of stuff for Arcia here in this season, only batting 200 in his last 7 games, 200 OBP and a slugging of 440. So again, not necessarily you're overcounting on him, but in a big situation, in a big moment here, gets that home run and shows you what it takes to kind of have a little bit of that professional at bat. It's kind of interesting when you're looking at the differences between Arcia and Estrada here. 97 at bats for Arcia this season, batting 196, 228, and 527 OPS. Pretty ugly across the board when you think about it. But then on the flip side, Estrada here, over 89 at bats, 6 runs, 26 hits, 1 home run, 13 RBIs, stolen base, 292 average, 323 OBP, an OPS of 716. You know, so these guys, again, it's not like they're blowing the doors off of everything, but they are certainly contributing and helping to the Rockies. Saw a tweet from the Rockies insider here. The Colorado Rockies win total pre-Orlando Arcia signing 9-46. Post-Orlando Arcia signing 9 wins, 11 losses. So, hey, you know, maybe there's a little bit something to the fact that maybe it's not a lot of hits, but it's clutch hits. It's hits that get RBI. A 3 RBI series for Estrada in this series, and of course the RBI from Arcia in the finale here to help the Rockies get the dub. So these guys, it's not sitting here and saying, hey, we got to really buy in and only believe in these guys, you know, really focus on making the Farmer, Arcia, Estrada core. That's what we should buy in and believe in. But it does kind of show you that when these guys and these guys put in a position to succeed, they have been able to help out the Rockies a little bit and give you situations in which they're not going to go down immediately on strikes. They're going to have some more professional at bats here. When you're looking at on the season so far for Estrada, only 15 strikeouts here and approaching 11 or 100 at bats. When you're talking about guys that strike out 3-4 times a game, the mid game was another 3 strikeout day for Ryan McMahon. When you have the guys that strike out at the clip and the rate that the Rockies do, it's a big problem. And so when you can get some guys that can come in here and avoid the strikeouts, which none of them really did in the finale, right? I mean, Estrada got a strikeout, McMahon another 2, Doyle had a couple, Michael Toglia 3 strikeouts. But when you're kind of looking at these guys, the strikeout hasn't hit them as much. So it's a little refreshing to see, but it's just you can't avoid the frustrations on offense from the Rockies on this series, even with, you know, these guys having, some impact moments, some clutch moments, these guys, the veterans kind of being able to provide the rare clutch moments for the Rockies this year. When you're looking at 15 strikeouts, when you're looking at 11 strikeouts, when it's just constant strikeouts. And mind you, the umpiring and the officiating, especially in the finale there, a little bit suspect. And of course, we saw the impact of the frustrations with that, with Freeman and Warren Schaefer being thrown out of the ball game there, which it's, again, I don't know, when you have the short fuse on ejections as an umpire, that I'm sorry, you should have to, you should, maybe it was I didn't follow it so much in the series there. So maybe it was a Sunday, we've done 3 games of this. I'm done with it, but just kind of one of those things that rubs me the wrong way about officiating, where it's like, I don't know. I as much as umpires, it's a tough job and things of that nature, and it's a lot of scrutiny for a difficult position and XYZ. At the same time, I'm not a big fan of quick ejections. If you get barked at a little bit, take the bark. If a guy disagrees with a strikeout call, he should be able to at least voice a little bit of that without being an immediate thing, especially when you're talking about a guy like Freeman who doesn't strike out as much as he did, or he doesn't strike out as much as the other guys there. So some frustrations there as well. But the main frustrations with the Rockies offense, I think, continues to be the fact that this team strikes out. And again, it's the one thing when you get rolled up on and they can dominate you and hold you hitless and that type of stuff. But when it's 11, when you are averaging when you're averaging double-digit strikeouts throughout the game, at least 11 strikeouts in every single one of these games for the Rockies, that's just flat out unacceptable, man. Like this what's being unpacked and uncorked about this roster construction and the guys that the Rockies have brought onto the team and tried to develop is the fact that these guys have a massive strikeout problem. And I say that word a bunch like that, and not to just be obnoxious and things like that, but this is a catastrophic, like this is a foundational developmental approach issue that continues to be a huge flaw for the Rockies. Great, Clint Hurdle comes in and he's the manager today and the hitting stuff, and there has been some improvement. We talked about the Rockies being in a position where in June they were a much more competitive offense. They were doing damage on offense. Didn't always lead to wins, but the offense as a whole was performing better. But man, oh man, these strikeout totals and these strikeout games are just infuriating to watch. They're wasted outs. They're wasted opportunities. They're wasted with runners on scoring position. When you have guys that you're supposed to have to count on and believe in the middle of your lineup, when your 4 and 5 hitters have massive strikeout issues, and the issues there with Tolia, McMahon, Doyle this year with strikeouts, it just kills that momentum in the middle, and it makes things a little bit more frustrating for the guys that have been able to be successful at getting on base, like your Estradas and things like that. It's only been less than 100 at bats for Estrada, right? But we're talking about a guy that when you're looking at it, in his last 7 games is batting .320, a 400 OBP, is slugging a 440, only 4 strikeouts, and in those 100 at bats, only 15 strikeouts. It's 89. So again, those numbers are a little bit skewed there, but when you're talking about the strikeout rates that the rest of the Rockies are dealing with, and at the rate that these other guys, it's kind of nice when you see the Estradas come in and be effective. Same with, Arcia's got 20 strikeouts on the season here throughout his when you got 12 strikeouts in 20 games. So not as much as of the impact there that we're hoping to see. And we know that the rest of the guys are dealing with it, but it's hopefully if these guys continue to, be as the second half of the season rolls on, it'd be great to see this team get to start limiting the strikeouts, because that's what makes things just so disheartening and so frustrating to watch from the offensive side. As this, where it's just like, oh, I mean, what is that? 22 plus 15, that's 37 strikeouts in a matter of 3 games. Like that's just so painful. Like it's just so unproductive as well. And again, that's where it's just like the focus of let's get better. When you have these series and you just get destroyed on that end, it's a bit frustrating. Of course, a win's good, and the Rockies did, fight their way back in the game there in the in that first one. Unfortunately, with things getting out of hand in the 8th, we had just a couple of innings here that really sunk the Rockies. But it's, what can you do? The Brewers are a good team, man. They are an interesting team, and they have often had the Rockies number 46-36 this season. Now, actually, I'm sorry, they should be up to 47-37. Being 27-17 at home, 10 games above 500. That's a good team. And again, you can sit there and we can say, oh, they kept it close. They kept it good, all that stuff. But it still shows you how far they need to go. And when you look at how the season series went for the Brewers against the Rockies this year, it was pretty thorough domination for this club. They handled business against the Rockies as they were trying to reestablish themselves at the top of the NL Central. Man, it's a dogfight, that Central Division. I've talked a lot of grief. I've talked a lot of smack about the Central divisions in baseball, but the NL Central is proving to be a good division here with 4 teams above 500, 2 teams tied for second place there. One a little bit behind on by a half game there in St. Louis, and that's going to be a dogfight. So for the Brewers, that's a series you need to win, and they'll be a little frustrated that they dropped that one in extras, because when you got a team like the Rockies coming to town, you got to be able to handle business and do your thing against them. And for the most part, they did. It was a pretty thorough butt whooping, I would say, by Milwaukee. And coming up next here, we'll take a question from the Locked On Rockies Twitterverse, and we'll look ahead as well to the next series for the Rockies, which got the Houston Astros coming into town for some Coors Field action. Houston and Chicago for a little homestand, an interesting homestand. And we will dive into all of that and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Back at it here with yours truly, Paul Holden, your host of Locked On Rockies, bringing this Monday edition of Locked On Rockies to a close, as we were talking a little bit about Germán Márquez and a nice, solid, strong starts there to maybe intrigue the trade market, the frustrations of the strikeouts there. But I like what, at least in this finale, 11 hits for the Rockies there, fighting back, kind of showing a little bit more of that fighting spirit that we've seen there. A little bit, again, frustration from the key members of this lineup. McMahon does pick up a hit and get a walk there. Brenton Doyle as well getting a hit in this one. The bottom of the order doing the damage. Tyler Freeman being thrown out early. It's kind of a bummer there. But I when that situation happens, I'm glad to see. Hey, speak your mind a little bit, and then it was good to see Schaefer go out there and back up his guy as well. If you got frustrations, if you got issues with how the strikes are being called, if you got beef with the officiating there, let him know. Give him the old what's what, and back up your guys. I think that's a good sign for Schaefer there. As I do wonder how much of the consideration of the Rockies, will be sitting there and just say, Schaefer, you're it, you got the job, you're promoted here. I wanted to take a comment, speaking of it in that vein here, from the Locked On Rockies social verse here. This was from the Danish sports nut, excited about Big Clint, would love if he was our next manager again, and asked for my thoughts there. Doing anything that continues to enable the cycle of the Rockies core group of guys, the guys from the past and all that stuff, is a step in the wrong direction. We do not need to listen. Clint Hurdle coming in and stepping in is an interesting storyline for this season, and it's all fine and dandy, and it's all well. But Clint Hurdle is not going to reinvent the wheel. Clint Hurdle wasn't this game-changing Tito type of manager that really shifted things. Respected manager, had success, certainly with the Rockies. Got the dub, helped them get the dub today as the manager, certainly. But you can't just keep rehashing, revisiting, reopening, redoing the past and thinking you're just going to luck yourself back into success. So when you ask the question of if I'm excited or if I think Clint Hurdle should be the next manager of the Rockies, no, I don't think Clint Hurdle should be the next manager of the Colorado Rockies. Please, if you're not going to stick with Warren Schaefer, which if you were to tell me right now, who would you say is going to be the next manager of the Colorado Rockies full-time in a full-time capacity, it'll be Warren Schaefer. They'll just, again, internal hire, a guy that gets promoted through the ranks, a guy that's been given the interim opportunity. Interim's an interesting tag for the Colorado Rockies. How many times has someone held an interim role for the Colorado Rockies and it's not ended up being what their role is? The last notable example I can think of is interim GM Bill Schmidt, who was given the title right after. Do we really, as we're in the wake again of the Rockies promoting another Mumford son, are we sitting here thinking that they will really go into this offseason and try to look for a manager, try to look for something, try to commit to that, especially as you're saying, hey, GM and manager kind of got to be on the same page here. they got to make sure that they're locked in. So I'm sure for Bill Schmidt, bringing in a Clint Hurdle would be an easy thing. It's a familiar face within the organization. It'd be easy type of stuff. But for the Rockies fan and for the Rockies in general, I don't think you're by continuing to prevent yourself from by continuing to not allow yourself to go out and look for outside talent from the outside the organization. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, possible failure, and you're limiting what you can do. You're limiting the possibilities. You're limiting yourself from going out there and finding someone that can help crack the code, looking and giving you that outside perspective. So I really, really, truly hope that this team embraces the situation that they're in and figure out how to make it so, okay, we can appease Dick Monfort and the ownership and things like that, but how do we actually really start looking for unique and different perspectives to help this team? But by rehashing your Clint Hurdles, by rehashing your old this, by rehashing and only internal promotions, there's no reason to sit here and think that significant change will happen to the Rockies if that is the standard. So it's kind of a long answer there, but by having, that was kind of one of my hesitations about bringing Clint Hurdle back into the fold, even in this limited capacity, was even if you open or creak that door, it could just run into it. And again, Clint Hurdle's successful manager, but Bud Black has more wins as a Rockies manager than Clint Hurdle does. Clint Hurdle was able, had Rocktober, and I believe it was 2009 there too. But all in all, that there was a lot of bad in between there. So I just plead that this team looks outside the organization to get creative and find solutions to their problems. Will they do that? No, they won't. But so could Clint Hurdle very likely be the next manager of the Rockies? I think that there is a chance there. I don't think that that's the right move, but you never know with the Rockies here. All right, coming up here this weekend, or this week, I should say, not weekend, the Rockies playing the Astros, who are playing very good baseball right now, taking down some good teams in their wake here, trying to make sure that they supplement and cement themselves back in that top spot of the national, or not the American League West here. In the month of June, the Astros, I don't know why I keep saying Nationals. The Astros have lost 7 total times in the month of June. And now they're coming to Colorado to do damage here when they're and starting things off against Chase Dollander, trying to feast off of that young pitching here as well. And this is a team that can do damage here for you as you're looking at the team offense here. I'm sorry, the team batting average of 255. They've have 700 hits. They've hit 90 home runs. The OBP 321, slugging at 400. So this is a team that certainly can come in and do damage at Coors Field. And Chase Dollander is going to have to be on his game here, going up against Colton Gordon as well. Colton Gordon 3-1 on the year with a 3.98 ERA, a 1.30 WHIP over 40 innings pitched, 38 strikeouts to only 5 walks and only 8 home runs there. On the flip side, you got Chase Dollander going up there, 49 strikeouts, but 27 walks, 14 home runs over those 62 innings pitched. Chase, of course, the young guy, the rookie, going through it and getting his feet under it. So this is no easy task for the Colorado Rockies. This is going to be a hot Astros team coming in, looking to do damage and looking to further that gap. And every time that teams like this, like we said before, every time that teams like this get an opportunity to play Colorado, they are looking to dominate. They're looking to sweep. They're looking to win these series because that's going to help them in their division races. And the Rockies have not been a great team at Coors Field. The opposition has been able to do the damage and be the ones that take advantage of Coors Field. And certainly the Astros are built to do it. We will not see old friend Brendan Rodgers here being actually, that's actually not true. I'm sorry. I misread this. He is estimated to return on the 30th. So Brendan Rodgers might be making his debut against the Rockies here in this series. It hasn't been necessarily a great season for Mr. Rodgers there, continuing to do with some, the performance ain't great. He was dealing with a left oblique strain scheduled to come off the IL on the 30th. So we'll see if Brendan Rodgers makes his return to Coors Field in an opposing team's uniform. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And if you need a second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And we got you covered with all things Colorado sports with Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.